You might believe the Sweboz is our biggest enemy. Rome and Macedon too perhaps. But no, we know of their intentions. If they ever get a chance to kill us, they would take it without a shadow of a doubt. In fact, our true threat is our scheming Germanic neighbors to the north. Ever since our arrival in their lands, their hateful eyes has looked down upon us. The assassination attempt on one of our court members just confirms that. If we commit with most of our forces in the south, they will just besiege Budorgis, our capital, raid our trade routes and execute our wives. It is impossible to continue our war effort without taking them out first. Securing our western border isn't the only benefit to this. We can use their towns as manpower for our armies and maybe even as a second front to attack Rome by. It would require a lengthy battle of the Alps and Deliria at the same time to work, but it is hands down our best option. If Carthage does destroy them first, that is. With both Eugenius and Gallienus fighting for possession in the south, we had to call upon the generals Alevas and Diodorus, both proven in battle, giving King Acritatus a good reason to rely on their strength. The champions of Olympus was at their disposal. Still, that wasn't enough, meaning another army had to be mustered before they could expand. It would take time and be very expensive, but once the preparations are complete, we should be able to blitz the Sweboz core regions. While they organized themselves in the north, Gallienus had found a new weapon. A scorpion that makes it possible to hit enemies from a greater distance and without breaking a sweat. It was quite expensive, so we had to stop his plans to construct a library in Jaros. With a Sweboz force marching towards Odysseus, it was a fitting target to test it against. Too focused on the Sarmatians running around their flanks and rear, they never expected our massive bolts piercing their skin before it was too late. With this victory, proof of his skills was undeniable. He had rightfully become one of the Spartans' legends. Oh, how the late monarch Ares must shake in his grave hearing of this achievement. Dacia itself was always meant to serve as one of our central sources of income. However, the decentralized tribes knew nothing but war. Barracks, blacksmiths, grain storage and massive defenses, fit to protect our new lands while the conflict against Sweboz rages. They will be needed, but once it's over, it will be converted into a commerce setup again. By the looks of things, the Sweboz still had plenty of spirit within them to drag the struggle out till our men, used to the warm climate of the south, surrendered to the cold north. But if we ask Gallienus his opinion on this, he would call it a play of a coward. With his new Scorpion and Sarmatian allies, he pushed for Naissos. Oh, how time has flown. Once he fought there as a mercenary of Macedon, but now with his own agenda, disobeying the orders of his king. Why should a man as prestigious as Gallienus listen to a worthless king who couldn't keep the slaves under control, rioting in the town named after Gallienus himself? No, this town should be his, no matter the cost of his allies. However, he had now walked straight into a trap. As clever as a man may be, arrogance will always struggle against the schemers. The Sweboz king himself laid in wait, hiding in the fog of war. The Spartan general was now stuck in Naissos, being pincered in between two large armies. As any sane man would do, he focused most of his forces on the army closest to the town. Cavalry rushed outside, while the Scorpions and Hoplites protected the town square. Although some of the enemies tried to hunt down the horse archers, a large majority kept running through the streets and towards the defending forces inside it. On the opposite side, the pressure kept growing. Only a small task force of determined warriors was available to stop the entire second attack force. With the forces outside the town dealt with, the cavalry rushed through pits and bodies to engage the enemy's forces from behind. A few of them ran out on the outskirts to help the other struggling flank. It was so bad Gallienus himself rallied his 300 bodyguards to block the passage into the town itself. With Gallienus barely surviving this attack, he realized his mistake. He would fall back to Odysseus in due time, abandoning his new conquest. You see, a rebellion had erupted near the Black Sea, forcing the son-in-law of the king and also prince of the Sarmatians to patrol the coastline with his ships. And as you might expect, a man like Gallienus would never accept help from anyone, and especially not the royal family. A dynasty that kept growing after their tragic losses. Eugenius had finally become a father with his new son Agamedes. He will become a brilliant strategist, or maybe a famous architect. To the north, however, the preparations were finally over. Perhaps not with the same elite forces as in the south, but these numbers, led by Diodorus, surpassed all the southern armies combined. Not to forget Alevas further up, the former hoping to make an uncontested strike at the heart of the Sweboz, with the latter mopping up the northern villages. After the winter had passed, Diodorus marched his roaring horde of Spartans and German levies to the gates of Lopferdum, taunting them day and night, keeping them awake with endless drumming and mentions of their mothers being whores and sons as boy toys. Alevas had even managed to gain the favor of a group of infamous Germanic berserkers. Expensive, but they were well worth the money. Vistruela barely put up a challenge. But in an unexpected turn of events, the majority of our Germanic levies forced the hand of Alevas and thus demanded him to peacefully occupy it. Blood, looting and slaves were the preferred way. But if the Spartans needed them to fight in their armies against Rome, impressions like this had to be made. As the garrison of Lopferdum sallied out, Diodorus fortified himself on top of a hill, letting the levies do all the hard work for him. With the combined numbers of wounded enemies and captured deserters, almost 1,000 new helots were captured for the glory of Sparta. With it occupied and no armies to the north, we knew they had to be hiding in the south. The mountains will prove to be a beautiful choke point for their inevitable retaliation attempt. As Alevas was on his way down to join the defenders, growing unrest among his Spartan hoplites, the core of his army caused minor problems. There was only one way to appease them. As Karkalis was looted, with the men running from house to house doing unpleasant things. I'm not proud of it, but it is the spoils of war. The expanding trade network of Sparta had reached the Carthaginian client-state Massalia, and the closer Pergamonian rulers of North Asia and Bithynia, both offering enough gold to build a statue in honor of Ares, the god of war, who is leading us through these troubling times. It will be constructed in the same town we took it from. Let's call it an advanced taxation process. A puny rebellion was sparked in the cold winter months, but with a defensive strike, the flames of unruliness died out, and with the path cleared through the mountain range, so was the visibility of a massive fortress guarded by the Sweboz. An impossible task to overcome alone. And with all of us nowhere close to reinforce, the Spartan general made a barbaric move. Raid the countryside and unleash the true potential of the Sarmatians. In a daring move though, the Sweboz sought redemption of their fallen friends and cousins. Royal guards, pikemen, berserkers, cavalry, all of it. They came at us in full force. To slow them down as much as possible, our Sarmatian allies harassed their flank, but only with minor success. The rest, not fast enough to catch up with our horses, ran straight for our lines, with only one goal in mind: total annihilation. Songs will be written in the name of our fallen heroes of Sparta. Their heroic sacrifice ensured the safety of Budorgis, our capital. Their heroic sacrifice will soon give us a strong foothold in the Alps. Their heroic sacrifice will allow us to attack the enemy from the flank. Once Alavas arrived with his intact army, he received whoever still was capable to fight. Back down in Dacia, Prince Eugenius had been lurking at Sindigon and the massive force gathering there. Knowing it was impossible to take before the northern generals returned south, he took up a defensive formation just outside Samisagetusa. Thankfully, he made it back before what appeared to be around 9,000 Celts knocked on his door. Of course, the future king of Sparta made short work of their enemies. A massive hoplite wall, horse archers and war dogs gave them no room for errors, and thus punished it severely. Now on the back foot, it was the perfect situation to go on the offensive once again. There was just this one thing: the Daci still held one region in Dacia, and if we pushed towards the Scordisi, our entire kingdom could risk falling. Galenus was on it though. His men had replenished after his severe loss at Naissos, bringing Thracians into the mix as well, claiming their skills in combat was rivaled by none. They would be tested again, here at Pelendava.